Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 19 of Cameron's Nostalgia Podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Circle, and today I have with me Dave Privett. How are you?
Doing good, Cameron. Good to be here.
Now, Dave Privett is a puppeteer, puppet builder, and puppet master for Baby Einstein series, the Baby Faith and Baby Science franchise. And don't forget about the Trollies as well.
Yes. The Trollies was kind of an interesting production we did as a production company, creating the puppets and the sets and writing scripts somewhat for this other company, and that turned out to be a kind of a fun deal. We did a bunch of Trollies videos, so yeah. But Baby Einstein, it was kind of neat getting to do Baby Einstein and working with the Walt Disney Company. I got that job by a friend of mine was the videographer for Baby Einstein, and unbeknownst to me at the time, they were about to sell to Disney, and so they needed to have new puppet versions made because they weren't sure they were going to be able to clear the rights for the puppets they'd been using so far. So they called me in. Mark was an old friend of mine, so I got to meet him and Julie Clark, and they asked me if I could build new puppets for them. I said, sure, no problem. So I created 5 new puppets, and we wound up using those characters in a lot of the videos. The tiger, the Numbers Nursery tiger, the duck from I think Numbers Nursery also, a bunch of characters, Ladybug, the lion from Baby Shapes, I think. I can't remember all the names, but anyway, yeah, did a lot of work for them.
And how did you get interested in puppetry? That's a quick question.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, it's a big question, but I'll make it pretty fast. Um, I was a shy kid, so puppets were kind of my way to get out of my shell. And it was my mom who actually introduced me to puppets. She read about using puppets to teach kids in a missions magazine, and she taught children's church. And we used my brothers and I to help her teach. We were her helpers. So she read about puppets, and she was a wonderful seamstress. So she knocked up a couple of puppets out of towels and made these 2 worm puppets called Happy and Smiley the Worm. And she got my brother and I to be the puppeteers. So we didn't know anything about using puppets. We didn't know how to speak correctly, do good lip sync. We didn't know about hiding behind the stage. We just took a piece of cardboard and cut a hole out. We wrote Happy and Smiley on the card, and we just pop our hand through and do the puppet line, and then the other brother would do it. So that was kind of how I got started. But I didn't really fall in love with it until we went to a workshop by a company called Puppet Productions, and they had professional puppets, and they taught people how to use these characters. So we got to do the workshop, and mom ordered these 4 puppets from them. I still remember the day they came in the mail, opened the box up, and it was like, out come these gorgeous, big, colorful puppets. And I just fell in love and thought, wow, this is something I could do. So that was how I got started in puppetry. And I did it pretty much every week from then on out. So
Okay, so what was Play Super all about?
Play Soup was a company that I started with my wife in 2000. And I started after working for a company called One Way Street, who I had been friends with the owners for a long time. I had traveled with them in college, and they hired me to set up their puppet making workshop and to create new products, which I did. But in the year 2000, I was newly married, so I was really wanting to go out on my own, and Play Soup was my chance to do that. It was really a puppet making company, but also a programming company. And Play Soup, our motto was good things for your brain to eat. So basically, anything positive and solid values and good stuff for your brain to focus on were things we wanted to create. And we did programs in schools and churches. We did a lot of conferences, spoke at workshops. We perform and present at these workshops as well. and in the conferences, and got to travel all over the world. And Play Soup was cool because it finally gave me a chance to introduce this character. This was a puppet that I had made about 10 years earlier, but I never really created a character for it, didn't know what to do with it. And this became my main character, Milo. That's me, Milo. Yay! Yes, you're Milo. Who are you talking to? Well, I'm talking to Cameron right now. Oh, hi, Cameron. Uh, but there's also a lot of other people looking through the little lens there and watching the podcast as well. Really, I don't see them. Well, that's because you can't see the little lens, but they can see you. Trust me. Okay, that's cool. Hi, everybody. So good to see you. Man, it's good to be here. So Milo became one of the main characters we use in Play Soup for the programs. Yep. All right. So I'm gonna go away now so we can go to the next question. See you guys. So that's Milo, who's my main guy.
Nice.
But I didn't tell about how Play Soup, the end of Play Soup. Play Soup started in 2000, and in 2018, I was very fortunate to be able to sell it. I was actually looking to move in some other directions, and I wound up selling Play Soup to a wonderful friend named Christopher Sommerfeld, who actually also owns One Way Street now, and it's updated called One Way Squared. So Play Soup is owned by them, and he keeps the production puppets going, the Tubies that I designed and created, and the media presentation video shows that we did that people can actually perform themselves. So he's done a great job keeping it going. So
Nice. So, what was it like working on Baby Einstein?
it was wonderful. It was a great opportunity. It was a bit stressful because obviously working for at the time I started with Baby Einstein, they were their own company, but they were selling to Disney. So I wound up working for Disney. I worked for Disney before in another company that I founded called Animax Designs. Animax built characters for Disney theme parks. We built all the puppets for Voyage of the Mermaid, for the Aladdin's Royal Caravan, which was a parade based around the Aladdin movie when it came out, for the Lion King attraction, which was a live giant puppet attraction. Uh, Animax built all those. So I'd worked with Disney before, but this was working directly on camera, which was a lot of fun, which is really my first love. I love doing puppets on television. And it was stressful in that, you have a very high standard. So I would make multiple 3 or 4 or 5 prototypes of each character before I got it right, knew that this was where it needed to be. So it was very time consuming to make, and I had to get the dye colors exactly correct. Obviously, Disney would send color sheets and one-offs and style books on exactly how everything should look and what the colors should be, and matching colors to actual Pantone booklet colors, which now is all done digitally in monitors. But we had to match it live with the fabric, so that always was time consuming. I spent a month just figuring out dye formulas when I first started building for them, and that's very time consuming. But it was so much fun being on camera, working in front and making these shows come alive, because they're nonverbal shows, and I love doing nonverbal puppetry. One of my favorite kind of characters is a glove kind of character like this, which is what's called a true hand puppet. It's not a glove puppet. This is a true hand puppet where 2 fingers make the head move, and then these 2 fingers move the hands. So I've been doing this for many years. The Baby Einstein puppets are even simpler. They had no arms. I think we only had a couple of arms. The monkey puppets had a couple of arms, but other than that, they very rarely had arms. They were just very simple puppets because Julie wanted parents to play with their kids with the puppets. So there's no reason to have arms. And it was fun to create these shows. Got to work with Marlee Maitland, who was a Academy Award winner. She's a deaf actress, really talented, and she did the baby signs. And it was fun working with her. And I got to do one of my favorite puppets for Baby Einstein, the otter puppet. I created that and was able to puppeteer that with her, and we had a lot of fun doing that. I still make these these puppets for people who would like to own their own copy of these original puppets. Now they're not exact; they're slightly different. I've updated them over the years, and also want to stay away from being too close to what we did on camera. But they're made the same way. I hand dye them, I create them, I build them all myself, and so people are getting a pretty close approximation of what they can see in the videos.
Okay. What about the Trollies?
Trollies was a basically a for hire project that we did. We didn't own that, but the original troll dolls, which were very popular in the 1960s and 70s, as a toy. In the 1980s, the company that owned that wanted to create a video of the troll puppets called Trollies, or the troll dolls, and we turned them into puppets. And so we created this whole sort of radio show based in their little troll world. And we built the puppets, we designed the sets. I created a lot of those sets and helped build a lot of the puppets. But that was a company called Animax, which I was part owner of at the time, and helped found that company. And Animax did that as a for hire project. And it was, I mean, it was fun. It was what, to that point, it was the largest production we'd ever done. Some of the sets were very big, very involved, a lot of props, and I think 5 or 6, 7 puppeteers on set at all times. So it was a lot of work. There was a lot that went into it, but it was fun. It was good learning experience, and fortunately, we had a studio space large enough to shoot it in, so we didn't have to go to a studio. We were able to shoot it right there where we were. So it was real nice. We're only steps away from the shop in case we had to make a quick repair to a puppet or knock together a specialty prop that wasn't in the script when we first got them. So yeah, that's how shooting goes. And long days, shooting days on puppet shows are very long. Typically a 10-hour day is normal. And we would go 12, 13, 14 hours sometimes if we had to, on because we're facing a deadline and when we had to get it shot by. So yeah, working on a budget, but it was good project.
Nice. And hmm, you show those puppets right now, but because we already saw them.
Which ones? Well, I've got a number of puppets here. Like I said, I've got a couple of hand puppets, true hand puppets, and these are the kind of puppets that were used for hundreds of years. When they talk about Punch and Judy puppet shows in the streets of England in the 1800s, the 1700s, these are the kind of puppets that were Punch and Judy style puppets, true hand puppets. The beauty of a true hand puppet is it allows you to grab things with your hand, with the puppet's hands, which are your fingers. So you can do a lot of manipulation and pick up signs and props and sticks and cups and all kinds of things. So I just brought a few special puppets to show you what these look like. And also, the process of making a puppet starts with a a prototype shape. This was my prototype for an alligator dragon puppet that I made. It was a dragon, but could also be used as an alligator. And it's a really fun little puppet shape. So it sort of shows you what the puppet's going to look like and how it feels and how it operates. And this was one that I made that was based off a design. It has a curved mouth, which is very different. Most puppet mouths are straight. But there's so much movement. I love the movement possibility here. And I'm probably going to remake Milo. Milo's falling apart. So, which happens when he's a 30-year-old puppet now, or almost older than that, 35 years old. So I may remake him in this style, change him up a little bit. And there's a whole backstory on how I could make him different and change him up. But so that's pretty much all the puppets I have. Well, I do have this little turtle that I had. This was a little character I made Snowbird, a character that I do on a local TV station, we do some positive values, puppet rhymes that I write, puppet poems, and they talk about things like being loyal, being a good friend, being a good citizen at school, and citizenship, and positive things that are fun for everybody to listen to. And we created this character to be friends with a clam. He's a little turtle that was friends with a clam puppet, and they talk about being good friends, loyal friends. So just a number of the different little things I create. I love shooting video. I love creating video and sharing that. And yeah, so some of the fun things that I get to do, and hopefully we'll continue to create more. I'm actually looking forward to doing more in the near future. So
You have a first puppet that you ever made?
I no longer have that first puppet. It literally fell apart. It was falling apart, and I wound up donating it to a traveling group that needed puppets. So I just said, I'm just going to give you my old puppets. It was actually I knew very little about making puppets at the time. I didn't even know about how to use glue to contact cement to put foam together to create shapes like this. I knew nothing of that. I actually the first puppet I made was a little green puppet with yellow hair, little boy puppet. Um, and I actually took the foam and I actually sewed the foam pieces together and put Elmer's glue on top of it, put white glue on top of it because I didn't know about contact cement. So that was the head shape, and I made the mouth out of cardboard. I didn't know about plastic or even using wood, plywood, miniature aircraft plywood, or any of the fun materials you can use to create mouth plates. Didn't know about putting a grip in, didn't know about making eyes out of plastic shapes. So it was a real learning experience. It was a very rough, very not good looking puppet, but it was my first one and I was very proud of it. And I did use it for a long time to perform with. I kept all my original puppets for as long as I could keep them. They essentially just deteriorated in my storage drawers because they were just so old. I had made my first puppet in 1980, no, 1970, 78, 77, I think it was. And I used it hard. I didn't know how to take care of puppets, so I would use it in the rain. I would do shows. We would drive down the road and I'd hang a puppet out the window and wave to people. And so it'd get rain on it, and humidity, and all kinds of things. So that poor little green puppet was not very green by the time I donated him. And then one of those first puppets that my mom had bought from Puppet Productions became a cowboy character I did. His name was Tex. I would do Tex, and Tex was from Texas, and he had 6,000 head of cattle, no bodies, just heads. So that was one of the jokes I would do with Tex. But I had taken one of those puppets that my mom had purchased, and I put a cowboy hat on him, and he was my main character before I created Milo and did Snowbird. So I kept Tex for years and years and years, and he was literally so threadbare that the fabric around his upper mouth was just completely separating, and I'd stitched it back together 3 or 4 times, and it just got to the point there was nothing left to stitch together. So I didn't even want to try to recover it because it was just its own thing. But I essentially, I think I donated that one as well because I just wanted to give it to somebody who would use it, and I think they wound up recovering it, which is good. The good thing it was used.
Yes. You have the original Baby Einstein puppets?
I do not, because those were made for hire. Because I was working for Disney. At the end of every shoot, I would turn all those puppets over to the Baby Einstein staff, and for years they kept them. Baby Einstein was located at the time. Disney did not have its big central campus. Evidently, in Burbank, they built a big, huge central campus where everything's located. But Before that, they kind of had warehouses and buildings all over Glendale and Burbank, which is near Hollywood. Um, and they had stuff all over the place. So Baby Einstein was his own little building right next door to the Muppets, actually. But so they had their own little space, and I was only in there 3 or 4 times, but they kept all the puppets in this big, huge gray filing cabinet, and I built stands. I built custom stands for each character I made for them. So they had all the stands in there and all the puppets in there, and they were really nice. I have no idea what happened to those now. The only original puppet that I did have, well, it came back to me by happenstance. It was the original duck puppet that I created. The first 5 puppets I created for Baby Einstein, which was the horse, the duck, the cow, the lion, and the tiger. I believe were the first 5. So the duck, Julie Clark had taken that puppet and had set it in her office window in Colorado. Well, if you're from Colorado, if you've ever been there, the sun is incredibly harsh and bright. The UV rays are very intense because the atmosphere is thin. And for this kind of puppet, that puppet was made of this same kind of fabric here. This kind of fabric basically deteriorates. It's a flocked foam. It basically falls apart when it's exposed to intense UV light. So I tell people to keep it out of the sun. Well, she had it sitting right in the sun, so it completely faded. So the yellow duck became a very nasty looking tan duck with some holes in it. So they needed it rebuilt from one of the times we did. So they sent me back the original puppet. I said, send me back the original so I can match it. So I got the original back and I rebuilt an exact duplicate. And then we used that for the videos, and that's what they kept in the cabinet from there on out. But I wound up hanging on to this old body because I'd taken the eyes off and the scarf was gone, and it was just a shell. But I thought, oh yeah, I'll keep it. Why not? And so I had it for a long, long, long time, and then basically somebody wanted it really badly, so I was able to let them have it just because they wanted to say, hey, this was the original, and it was too fragile to use for puppeteering, but it was just nice. I told them it really belongs in a museum. So I put new eyes on it for him and made a new scarf for him as close to the original. So, but other than that, I don't have any original Baby Einstein puppets because those all went to Disney. And if anyone out there knows where those are, I'd love to hear. Just love to know they're still kicking. Disney doesn't throw anything away. They have deep vaults, and I'm sure they're probably stored somewhere, but those puppets are getting pretty old now, so hopefully they've been climate controlled.
All right. You have the behind the scenes photos and videos of Baby Einstein?
I have a few, and I've posted those. I've posted a couple of them on my Instagram. My Instagram is DMP Creative if you're interested in checking that out. I also have an Etsy store where I sell the I call them little genius puppets because again they're slightly different and I think they're upgraded. I actually think they're better puppets than what I built originally because they're just you get better at it the more you do it. But so I've got an Etsy store, DMP Creative, and I have an Instagram, DMP Creative. And I think I have a few of the behind the scenes stuff posted on that Instagram. I have very, very little. People ask me that all the time. Do you have any photos? Do you have any behind the scenes stuff? And the reason I don't have that is we were too busy shooting. And at the time, people didn't do a lot of that. They didn't take pictures on set of things. And actually, that's considered kind of a big no-no. Nowadays, most actors and crew members will have to sign agreement saying, I won't take any photos or share anything from behind the scenes. And it's actually a legal agreement. You get sued if you break it. But I never signed anything like that with Disney, except not the beginning. I think they had me sign one towards the end, which is fine. But yeah, so I have a couple of pictures I took. Had to get a picture with Marlee Matlin, and we took a photo on set that day, and that was awesome. And took some pictures of some of the more memorable shots we did. I think I've got a behind the scenes I posted of me performing the tiger puppet from Numbers Nursery when I built the snowman, which I also made. I made that prop. So that's on my Instagram. And there's a shot I think of when we shot Baby McDonald and the pig sliding down the slide from the silo into the mud puddle. And we actually did that practical with actual mud that the puppets fell into. And that was a nasty, dirty shot. So we got a picture of June was the main puppeteer on that. And she was the one sliding down, getting all the mud on her. And I was pushing the mud up from below. But so we were both dirty with mud after we shot that. But those puppets were trashed. So yeah, that was a waste of a couple of good puppets. But they're pink pigs. So once you got this brown dirt water in it, there's no getting that out stain wise. So it's okay. We got the shot. Can always remake some pigs if we need to.
Okay, so did June got Myron?
Yes. Yeah, that was her character. So she actually has that character, and I don't know if she still performs with it or not, but it's kind of cool to know that Myron and Milo were kind of connected brothers, and well, we didn't really specify, kind of brothers, but definitely related. So, and they look similar. Milo's pink. Myron was sort of a teal green, and fun characters are fun to build, and a different style, something I pioneered, and I've seen some, some people doing something similar to it online. I created this puppet in 1996, I believe it was. So I wanted to do something different. I wanted to create these palms that had this sort of fabric in the palms and this lowered down fur. And this is all trimmed fur. So trimming this fur, if you leave it the same length, it doesn't look very good. So you have to trim it to give it some dimension. And then doing some airbrush on the belly, and he kind of looks like a bug. And it's got these little dreadlocky looking things, and they used to stand up, and now they just kind of flop, but they're still fun. So, like I said, I've seen some people create some things similar to this, and I hope they took some inspiration from Milo for that, but you never know. So, but yeah, they're interesting characters to make.
I should tell Miles, say hi, Myron.
Yeah, well, I could. Then Milo said,
Yeah.
"Hey, Myron, hey, how you doing, man? You owe me $40." No, no, he doesn't owe you $40. I guess not. I was just messing with you. Long time no see. All right. Any more questions that you can think of that you were wanting to throw my way? It's been fun to talk to you, and you and I have had chats over the years occasionally. Usually just do a FaceTime or a Zoom call, but it's kind of nice to know you're doing a podcast, and honored to be invited to be a part of it. So.
Was your life, was your wife going to be on your podcast?
No, I don't. I don't do a podcast, so I do not have a podcast. So yeah, it's just one of those things where I guess I having done a lot of video production. I know I kind of have this bar in my mind that I want to reach this bar for production value, and trying to do that on your own. I need to build a studio to do it, but it's just podcasting takes a lot of time, and some people do it really well and can do it on the fly pretty quickly. But everything that's you see online that's really well produced, that takes a lot of work. It's a lot more work that goes into it than you ever know, especially edited videos. So I would much rather create a bit of a story video with like Snowbird. I do these little Snowbird updates, or I'm gonna start doing some more things with some other characters, maybe remade Milo. But I'd much rather put my time into creating a little fun, positive story than to just do a podcast. If I did a podcast, it'd be about puppetry, and there's already a number of those out there. Adam Krudinger, one of the products that I made as Play Sue, which I was very proud of, was the Sketch to Show series, which was literally the very first how to design and build and create a puppet start to scratch from sketch to the actual show performance. And he was one of the early purchasers of that video, and he's gone on to do great things. He's created the Puppet Nerd video channel and YouTube channel, and he's blown up in terms of it's got a lot more followers than I ever had, and he's done a great job. And because he's a teacher, he's an art teacher by training, so he knows how to teach people how to do things, and he's a real talented guy. So, but he took that sketch to show, and I was very proud of creating that product. But that being said, I'd much rather push someone to when they want to say, why don't you do a podcast on how to make puppets? Well, I did a 3 video series I spent a year and a half of my life creating and putting a lot of work into. And I'm very proud of that series. But if you send you to Puppet Nerd and send you to BJ Geyer and some other really talented people out there that teach some great things. And these are all skills that have been around for a long time. Obviously, the Muppets, a lot of those guys that were builders that created a lot of cool things, and they sort of upped the game. And so a lot of the techniques using foam and contact cement and some of those things have trickle down from those sources, and we appreciate that. And the thing is to pass it along and to share. My only thing is I tell people when you learn something from somebody that you use, just credit them. Be sure to credit them. I was very fortunate to get to work at Animax with Chuck Fawcett, who was the primary designer and owner. Sold out to him when I moved to Colorado to work for One Way Street. And Chuck was an incredible puppet designer, really great engineering mind, and really innovative. And Animax went on to be this huge company that actually wound up building the Walking with the Dinosaurs characters. And Chuck sold Animax to the company from Singapore that creates all those giant dinosaurs. So, he did great things with Animax after I moved out to Colorado. But he was a great builder, great designer, and I learned a lot from him. And I took what I learned from him and tried to create my own things and be as original as possible. That's what I encourage people to do, is to be original, to try to, do what somebody's showing you how to do, and copy them so you can learn from that process or learn from that look, but then take it and do something with it. Don't just, that's the point of creating art, is to try to make it better and always to make it your own. So.
Yes. Are there any TV appearances that you appeared on?
Well, I did a bunch of TV appearances as Snowbird. I did pretty much everything local. I was on the Ralph Emery show a lot. Ralph Emery was a very well-known country music DJ and producer and talent. And he had a local show that aired in the mornings every weekday here for years and years and years, for decades. And everybody who's anybody in country music appeared on Ralph Emery show at one point or another. So I was on a number of those shows. I did a lot of promos with Lee Greenwood, Barbara Mandrell, and country music artists. Did New Year's specials with Snowbird. Didn't do any live parade stuff. We built puppets. We designed and built the puppets and trained the puppeteers for the Disney theme park stuff that I mentioned, I think, earlier to you. Voyage Little Mermaid puppets, the Blacklight puppets for Under the Sea. But Disney would always shoot their holiday specials in the parks, and whenever those puppets appeared, and they were featured one year because they had their own staff. But so I never got to do any of that. But did a lot of most of the video work I've done has been commercial video, which is not only is ads. I did a South Central Bell ad back in the '80s that was went wide. I wish I could have gotten a national ad. That would have been great. But uh, but I did a lot of but most commercial work is people hire you to perform puppetry for a particular product, and a lot of it was educational type stuff. We did a nutrition focused puppet series called Food Groupies when I was at Animax. We did the Trollies. We did, Tennessee Society for the Prevention of Child Abuse. We created a show with Snowbird that was live in schools. Then we turned it into video. We did Christmas specials, had special guests. Amy Grant was one of our guest stars on it, and a lot of other folks. So, a lot of video appearances, but nothing national, nothing on a national level. So
Okay. Do you have the greatest toy in the world video?
the great, the greatest. That's funny you mentioned that. Yeah, that was part of a live program that we did. The greatest toy in the world, which turns out to be. I did this whole video build up about the greatest toy in the world, and it turns out to be the glass ducky. And there's a whole story about why in the world would a glass ducky be the greatest toy in the world? Well, it's an ancient glass ducky. And if you can imagine, this was made in the age before there was rubber. So there were no rubber duckies. All the rubber duckies had to be made out of glass. And as you can imagine, glass isn't soft and doesn't flex. So most of the glass duckies were broken. This is like the last one left almost. So it was a whole piece of a show. It was an intro into a thing on obedience. And Myron accidentally breaks the glass ducky and gets in trouble for it, has to pay the price. So he learned a valuable lesson about obedience. But so I would create those videos as part of our program. There were only two of us, so I had two puppeteers. So we would be backstage getting ready for the next piece, getting puppets on, getting props set, whatever. And we would let these these video sections play as transition pieces. And so the introduction video for the greatest toy in the world was one of those pieces I created as a transition element. And it works very well for a show. And if you can't spend too much time on it because people get tired of seeing the same thing. You always have to keep changing the stage picture as much as you can to hold interest. But if it's a good story, people will watch. And that was a really good story. We had a lot of fun doing the greatest toy production. So
Yes. Well, I wanted to see the full puppet show.
oh, I don't have one of those ready. I don't have a full puppet show. You mean actually perform one for you right here, right now? I don't have one ready because I literally have to track down the props and all that. And I've got a storage unit that I got to go through, and it's got a ton of stuff in it. Probably most of that stuff is out there. I haven't done any live programs in quite a while, probably 7, 8 years. Just been focused on doing video and also creating just building puppets for people so they can have their own characters and do their own things with it. But I love perform. I do love to do live programs. It's just finding a place where I've always gone and done programs from people asked. So I like to go any place I'm wanted. I'm happy to go there. But yeah, it's I got so used to doing productions with a team or with another puppeteer that it's hard to go back to doing a solo program. And I've got ideas, but I don't know. I don't miss it too much, but I still enjoy. I get my performing out on video, so I enjoy doing video, and that allows me to keep my skills up and to keep creating new things. But the thing I love about video is it's forever. Once you create a good piece and you spend time making it the way you want it to be, then it stays that way forever, which is kind of nice. Live programs are wonderful, but they're in the moment because every audience is different and every group gathering is different. And every time you do a program for an audience, it's a different meeting. You could take the same audience and the same program and the same puppeteers and bring them back the next night and put them in the same room, but it wouldn't be the same program because everybody's different. We have a different experience. So every live program is unique, and it's fun. It's fun. And I'm hoping I'm going to get a chance to do some more of that. There's some things coming up, but right now I don't have a live show I can do for it.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, Dave, for your time.
Thank you, Cameron, for inviting me on, and good luck with the podcast. And thanks again for being excited about puppetry. And you created your own stuff and you create your own art, and I applaud you for your creative efforts. So keep going and keep doing what you do. Okay.
Yes, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Do what? What's that?
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Oh, no, I think that's it. We've had a good chat. I'm sure I'll think of something as soon as we hang up the call. Like, oh, I should have said this, I should have said that. But no, I've been able to share a lot of stuff. Good questions. Thank you for those. We're able to cover a lot of ground, and hopefully people find it interesting, and will challenge them to go on to their own doing their own things.
Yes. I need to say goodbye to Milo.
Oh, I'll do that. Oh, and I did just think of something to say. I'll have tell you what, I'll have Milo say, hey Milo, I'm gonna whisper this in your. Okay. Oh yeah, I can do that. Okay. Hey Cameron, okay. Yeah, we're gonna go now, I guess. But Mr. Dave wanted me to you were asking about seeing the show. Well, if you go to snowbirdcentral.fun and click the link to go to the YouTube channel, there's a whole bunch of stories, puppet stories that Mr. Dave has puppeteered Snowbird, and Snowbird narrates the story. So you can see those shows, and there'll be a whole puppet show. There's some really cool ones on there. So go to the YouTube channel, Snowbird Central, and you'll see a whole bunch of puppet shows. So yeah, but thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it, and we'll see you later. Okay, bye bye for now.
Bye, Milo.
See ya. Bye. All right, man. Thanks for chatting.
Stay tuned, there'll be more guests coming up. Until next time, peace.